The 38th day of Donald Trump's war in Iran. Today, he doubled down on his profanity-filled social media post from yesterday, also known as Easter Sunday. Yesterday, the president threatened that tomorrow the U.S. could blow up power plants and bridges, writing the following: "Open the effing straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be in a living hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah." And today, in a press conference about the incredible rescue of an American airman from inside Iran, the president repeated his threat about what would happen if Iran does not open up the strait by tomorrow night. Watch this.
The entire country can be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. We're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and after that, they're going to have no bridges, they're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages, yeah, Stone Ages. We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to. We don't want that to happen.
Okay, two things. First, Iran has promised that if civilian targets are hit, it will carry out a multiplied response in the region. Second, to be very clear, many experts agree that if Trump attacks power plants and bridges that civilians depend on, that would be considered a war crime. Now, because of the nature of the Iranian regime, we don't even hear much from the millions of people who live there about how they actually feel about what's happening in their homeland. But the president, he is more than happy to offer his own answer for how those people are experiencing life. Watch this.
Mr. President, you've said Iranians would be mad if you stopped these attacks, but why would they want you to blow up their infrastructure, to cut off their power? Wouldn't that be punishing Iranians for the actions of the regime?
They would be willing to, and it's suffering, they would be willing to suffer that in order to have freedom. The Iranians have, and we've had numerous intercepts. Please keep bombing. Bombs that are dropping near their homes. Please keep bombing. Do it. And these are people that are living where the bombs are exploding.
Now, that's according to the president. On the other hand, BBC News actually spoke to some people of Iran about the possible attacks on their infrastructure. One woman in her 20s said, quote, "My mom is filling every bottle she can find in the house with water. I have no idea where we're going to live now." I think more and more in Iran that we have realized that Trump doesn't care about us at all. A man in his 20s said the following: "I've thanked Israel and the U.S. for almost all of what they've hit so far. They must have had good reasons for them. But I swear, hitting a power station just paralyzes the country. It just plays into the Islamic Republic's hands." Another man said this: "It feels like we are sinking deeper into a swamp. What can we do as ordinary people? We can't do anything. We can't stop Trump. I keep thinking about a scenario where in a month, I'm sitting with my family with no water, no electricity, nothing. And someone blows out the candle and we go to sleep." Oof. Let's get smarter now and bring in our lead off panel tonight. Luke Broadwater is here, Pulitzer Prize winning White House correspondent for the New York Times. Susan Glasser joins us, staff writer for the New Yorker, and Lieutenant General Mark Hertling, a retired commander of the U.S. Army Europe. His new book, If I Don't Return, A Father's Wartime Journal, is out now. All right, Mr. Broadwater, please get us started. Given the president's history with deadlines, why should anyone believe in this deadline? This is obviously much different than tariffs. Like, we're talking about life or death here.
Well, it's a fair point. The president has been all over the place in terms of his deadlines, in terms of his threats, in terms of his offers. I mean, you know, this press conference today was supposed to be about celebrating this very heroic rescue of the downed airmen. And instead, after a brief discussion of that, we got threats of war crimes, the brushing aside of committing potential war crimes, talk of seizing Iran's oil and using the rules of the military from, in Trump's own words, hundreds of years ago, where the victor got the spoils. There was talk of him taking control of the strait and charging toll fees. So it got very belligerent very quickly. And at the same time, when you listen to it, there were times when he suggested he wanted to rebuild Iran and partner with them and make a deal. So it was very all over the place. In some ways, I think the Trump folks believe they're doing a threat, a carrot. A threat and a carrot kind of approach where they say a lot of stuff and then get the Iranians to agree to something. So we'll have to see what happens tomorrow. But it was not exactly coherent.
General, let's talk about that very approach. Is this a way to convince someone to make a deal, issue very specific threats and deadlines, and basically threaten to take the whole country back to the Stone Age?
No, Stephanie, it's not. And what we have to do is consider the amount of chaos and death and destruction, the looting and the pillaging, the turning this into a moonscape. If you actually abide by what the president is saying, to hit a country that's the size of a couple of Texas and it has 92 million people, and you hit every bridge and every power plant, it doesn't just limit it to that kind of damage. It takes water lines out. It takes hospitals down because you can't supply them anymore. The sanitation would be off the chart. The disease would spread. People would go hungry and dehydrated, like you saw in the note from the one Iranian woman. It's just something. As I listened to the speech today, I couldn't comprehend the amount of evil that this individual, our president, was talking about, basically passing on to the Iranian people. I mean, you don't do that to your enemies. You use conflict, you use war to achieve a political objective. This is not a political objective. He's taking joy in standing before a microphone in the White House and claiming what he's going to do to 92 million people. It's just despicable in my view.
Susan, a reporter for the New York Times today wrote the following. Like the producer of a television cliffhanger, Trump seems determined to keep everyone off balance. Now, today we also heard him talking about a military operation like it was a movie. What's your reaction?
Yeah, Steph, I mean, look, this is the White House that's produced war as a video game for the last 38 days. And I think the general is absolutely correct here. I mean, this is a sort of reached a despicable low, even for Donald Trump. The fact that it comes packaged as bad farce makes it harder, I think, for people sometimes to sort of like reckon squarely with what's happening, right? So you have the president who's threatening war crimes appearing alongside the Easter Bunny. You have him swearing on Easter Sunday and saying, praise be to Allah. Imagine telling yourself what would happen if Barack Obama had done something like that. So it's this sort of low farce combined with high tragedy element of it that has made so many people tongue-tied when it comes to just saying in a very straightforward way, it strikes you as profoundly un-American to threaten massive civilian destruction and death and mayhem as a consequence, as some kind of a television reality show negotiating tool. And by the way, the person who's been doing this kind of attacks on civilian infrastructure over the last 4 years has been Vladimir Putin. And once again, Donald Trump seems to be taking Putin's actions as something like a playbook rather than the atrocity and the crimes against humanity that they are.
General, how would destroying civilian infrastructure hurt the Iranian regime, especially considering how likely it is that Iran would retaliate across the region?
Well, how would it hurt them? It would devastate. It would be catastrophic. It would affect every single citizen if the president decided to actually pass through this order of destroying all bridges and electronic facilities, energy producing facilities. It seems, Stephanie, that the president and some of his advisors have become enamored with the concept of war, but none of them have experienced combat. They think that they can wind up the military because they have seen the military become so successful in limited operations, the taking out of Maduro, the absconding with him, or conducting this very large operation, which was well executed, well planned to recover the pilots that were down in this crash. But look at the amount of force that was needed in that recovery operation. The military will move mountains to get their fallen comrades back, the ones who have been captured. They did that magnificently, but truthfully, Steph, that's something that the military trains to do, and they do it. But when you have individuals who've never seen it before or who don't understand it, as we watched the president describe it this morning, this is a guy who said, I'm trying to remember the one quote I wrote down, shot by bullets, you bring rifles into this party. I mean, that was a direct quote of his. He doesn't understand conflict or combat, but he's seeing the magnificent and brilliant execution of these kind of missions, and he thinks he can just turn it on and walk away from it. And that's what we've seen since the start of this war. He's turned it on. He's conducted the offensive. He's bombed a lot of locations, and now he's thinking he can move out of it by threatening to destroy the entire country. It's just to me unbelievable.